So we want to know, could there be a connection between, let's say, a lisp and various types of noxious oral habits that the children have? Let's look into that, okay? Number one, the common one is the thumb. Two, the finger, blankets, etc. Also, some children, you have pacifier sucking habits for long periods of time, and then there's the ever famous sippy cup that comes in many different types of shapes and sizes. Let's talk about these. As long ago as the early 1900s, dentists recognized that speech problems such as lisps were very much intricately related to open bites. So let's look how this is a possibility. The tongue fits in the roof of the mouth. The tip of it touches the place called the incisive papilla, where there's a little line behind the upper central teeth. Now let's just say that a thumb goes in the way. This is an intruder now, isn't it? The tongue is moved out of that position where it belongs. It's now down, forward, and often has to curl around the thumb or other object. So, if this is the position it's learning for many hours a day, if it's a constant sucking habit, then even when the thumb or the pacifier or the sippy cup comes out of the mouth, that tongue is still in that undesirable position. The tongue has learned a new place to rest. Now, the tongue is down and forward when it's resting, and that's the place from where speech begins and ends, instead of up here where it belongs. When speech begins and ends up here, it's crisp, it's sharp, the sounds come out clearly. But if the tongue is down and forward and the jaw is open too much, this is a type of speech that you might get. It might not necessarily be a strong lisp like this, but it might very well end up with mumbling, imprecise articulation. That's the connection right there. So when we have to advise parents, what do? Number one, we already have discussed quite a bit about thumb sucking and finger sucking habits. We know they can be negative, but honestly we could write a whole book about what could or could not happen. So I can't really go into that in this one class here. Let's talk about the sippy cups, because that comes up with almost every child in almost every home. Which one do we choose? Do I just run to the store and get the cheapest one? They're all the same. These are strong considerations. Let's remember the three things that we just discussed: the pliability or softness. You can see this one is not pliable or soft, so it doesn't meet that first goal. Number two, it's rather long, the part that's going to go in the little mouth. Number three, it's rather wide, and even from this side, it's thick and hard. So this would not meet any of our criteria. But what about this one? Very nice little pliable, soft nipple. It's short. It's not going to go too far back, so the baby's tongue is going to be closer to the area where it should be for the rest of his life. However, if you look from the side, it's thick. And not only is it thick, but inside of it, right on the top, it's hard and it's round. Now what is that going to do to the tongue? It's going to cause the tongue to have to curl around it and not be in that natural position. The main thing to consider with the straw-type sippy cup is that the child is sitting up when he's using it. Otherwise, the tongue will be misplaced far more than we would want it to be. I found one other sippy cup, and there may be more on the market, but this is the one that I did locate, that seems to meet all the criteria and even has a bonus. So if you can find something like this, I think it would be quite helpful. Now, I don't know how common this is, but this particular one has a replica of the incisive papilla on one side, so that the baby will always have the tongue on the bottom in a position and with a feeling that is similar to what he would have in his own mouth. This goes on the incisive papilla. The little tongue is now able to suction from the place where Mother Nature intended, right on the incisive papilla, and they feel the little line that is put into this particular type nipple. We do have statistics regarding the damage that pacifiers can do, the damage that thumb and finger sucking can do. Although we don't really have that many statistics about the Sippy Cups yet, we do know that the effect is going to be the same. They cause the same movement of the tongue to an undesirable position. So, number one, in addition to frequency, intensity, and duration, we've got to consider the softness and pliability, the length, and the thickness. And if possible, if you can find one like this one that has the replica of the incisive papilla, that's a real good bonus. Remember, when parents come to you and they ask you questions about sippy cups and other sucking habits, remember that you are indeed the expert. So don't be afraid to say to them, look, in this one case, spend an extra couple dollars, go to get the very best one that you can possibly find, and give your child the best chance for good speech and dentition in the future.